ask you to find your seats so that we can get started.
That's normal.
You all ready? You all ready? Y'all good to go? Okay. All right, I see a few more folks trickling in. I'm going to let you all find your seats and then we'll get started. So good evening again. It's nice to see all of you. I'm glad you all made it here safely in the weather and with the roads clearing, but still want to be cautious. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight and welcome to the District 2 Budget Town Hall. My name is Amber Barnett and I serve as the Assistant Director of Equity for the County Executive's Office, and I have the privilege of serving as your moderator for this evening. This town hall is part of our annual Budget Town Hall series and is your opportunity to let county leaders know what you and your communities think should be funded in the county's FY26 budget. This evening, we will hear opening remarks from your District 2 Council Member, Allison Pickard. Then County Executive Pittman and Budget Officer Chris Trumbauer will share a presentation about the county's investments and the outlook for the FY26 budget. After the presentation, we will open the floor for public testimony, and you will get a chance to share your thoughts. Before we begin, I want to introduce some special guests in the audience. Let's see here. I want to introduce, we have a few department directors who are here with us this evening. We've got Karen Henry, our director for the Department of Public Works. Yes. Jessica Lays, Director for the Department of Recreation and Parks. Carissa Kelly, Director for the Department of Aging and Disabilities. And Skip Old, Director for Anne Arundel County Public Libraries. So without further ado, I would now like to introduce Councilmember Allison Pickard.
Well, that was easy. Good evening, everybody. I am Councilwoman Allison Pickard, representing District 2. Here as we are enjoying our brand new high school. It is beautiful, isn't it? For some of you who haven't been here, this is a prototype of all of our new high schools that will be built in the future. But I'm excited to be here to be able to listen to everyone's concerns about our fiscal standing in the county and your concerns and what you would like to see in our budget this year. I'm really proud of the work that we've done over the last 6 years, and by fully funding our rainy day fund and creating a dedicated mechanism for capital improvement projects, we've really positioned Anne Arundel County on solid financial footing, resulting in a AAA bond rating from all 3 agencies. That's good news for Anne Arundel County. We're well positioned, especially amongst some of the challenges we see in our other counties in the state of Maryland. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that today is National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, so I'd like to thank our police department for everything they do, and of course all of our public safety personnel. It's weeks like this that we should be especially grateful for while we're home enjoying the warmth, they're out on the roads. They don't get to take a day off on a snow day. So thank you, everybody. We've made significant investments in our police and fire departments, as well as teacher salaries. I see TAC is here. I'm looking forward to seeing a new consolidated 911 center come to life, and District 2 will soon see coming improvements at the North Arundel Swim Center, and Glen Burnie will finally have a brand new library. There's a meeting in February for the community to come out and give public input about the design of that library. So keep watch on Facebook and our newsletter, and you'll get a chance to be a part of the process. I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you and your priorities for this year's budget. And at this time, I'll turn it over to the county executive. Right?
All right, yes. Yes, District 2 has a lot going on, and I can credit the person sitting next to me. Usually when you have a very active county council representative, you get a lot of attention from the administration. And so there are a lot of great projects going on in the district. But overall, I also believe that we should feel good about our financial standing right now. I've been hanging out with folks who've been coming into Annapolis for the beginning of session yesterday, hearing from the governor about the financial problems that the state has, things that started, in 2017, 7 years ago, they started talking about the structural deficit in the state of Maryland, and nothing was done about it. So now they've got a $3 billion deficit that they have to address this year. And I would not want to be in the governor's shoes. I'd much rather be in my shoes. So they're going to do what they do, and it might impact us. There are going to be some cuts. They need to make some cuts. The state government grew by 70% under a period where the state GDP grew by 3%, and the federal GDP grew by 11%. And had we had 8% growth, we wouldn't have this structural deficit. But the governor's working on that, and we're going to be partners in that. Anne Arundel County has pretty decent revenue projections, and it'll be, a pretty normal year, better than some in the past, and maybe not our very best, but not bad. And it's the future that I'm worried about. It's the impacts of the state deficit and funding that we may lose from the state level, and then a new administration in Washington that's got a different macroeconomic approach. We're not quite sure what it is, but if some of the things that were promised in the campaign happen, they will affect the bottom line for our county government, particularly our workforce that works for the federal government if they are laid off, and deportation of folks who are part of our workforce might affect some of our small businesses, and then of course tariffs, and if inflation is reignited, that's going to affect us as well. So there's a lot of uncertainty. All the economists are saying that, and that could impact us. We don't really have a way to plan for that other than to continue to do what we've done in this county, which is really to budget in a way that is, you could say, fiscally conservative. I usually say fiscally responsible. We end up with a decent fund balance at the end of the year. We haven't had a situation where we've gotten it wrong. Our budget office makes projections and does a good job. And one of the things that I asked Chris Trumbauer to do, he's about to stand up and give his presentation, with some slides, is to look at what we've done in recent years. So we have a sense in different spending areas of how we've made progress. I will say that the greatest concerns that I have are the folks who are most vulnerable, the folks who might be impacted by an economic downturn. I think that's always the case. And the way I see the need for economic growth is that we can't grow in this state or this county without a workforce that is prepared to go to work. We have more jobs than we have people to fill them right now. And so the only way that you build the workforce is through education, it's through housing, it's through transportation, it's through childcare, it's through good health, it's through public safety, the things that make it possible for people to get up in the morning and go to work every day. So I think the governor knows that. I think we all know that. And it's great that the economic development is aligned with health and human services in our agenda. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity right now, and I look forward to doing a great budget. But I don't expect it to be one of those years where we have a lot of growth in what we do in the county. So I will pass it on back. Do I pass it straight on to Chris? Yes. Okay. And there's going to be a quiz after this, so listen up.
There will not be a quiz after this. Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Trumbauer. I'm your friendly neighborhood budget officer. I've got about 20 slides to go through. It would take normally about 30 to 40 minutes, but let's do it in 15. Everybody on board for that? Yeah, let's go. I move fast and I talk quick, so I think we're all in this together, right? First slide is the county exec's budget message. You just heard from him, so I think we can move past that. Secondly, this is the budget timeline. So this is very important because I want you all to know that no decisions on the budget have been made yet, right? So you see we're circled here in this January timeline. We're still getting our departmental budget requests. We're still internally reviewing them. So it's very important for the administration that they get to hear from the public at this time so that the feedback that you give can be incorporated into ultimate budget decisions. Next slide is going to show you a little bit about the budget process. So we're starting now with departmental budget requests. And then we have the town halls. My office, the budget office, does an internal review and works with departments. We get everything kind of fine-tuned a little bit. Then the departments present to the county executive. County executive and his team make final budget decisions. We introduce the budget on May 1st. Then you see the color shift there. That's because the county council is in control of the process after that point. So they have 45 days to review the budget along with the county auditor. They can make amendments. They can propose changes. And then the next thing is the county executive introduces supplemental budget amendments that can add things to the budget based on any cost-cutting savings that the amendments have done. And then hopefully everybody passes the budget by June 15th, which is what's required by the charter. All right, next we're going to show you, hey, where's the money come from? Mostly from property tax and income tax. So thank you for paying your taxes. That's about 75% of the revenue. We also get real estate taxes, which we call recordation and transfer. We get some state funding, and we get some other fees and local sales taxes as well. The other side, where does the money go? Well, half of it goes to our friends at the Board of Education, and look at the cool things they do with it. This is a great school, but that's what funds all the teachers and programs for our K through 12, pre-K through 12 education. The next biggest slice of the pie there is public safety, and then you can see how it goes from there. But the number there on the lower right, $2.3 billion, that is our operating budget for the current fiscal year, which is 2025. So what did we put in this budget? The county executive and the county council passed the budget this year. A lot of cool stuff. We cherry-picked a few of them to highlight in this slide. We have the highest police starting salary of any county in the state, to my knowledge, $70,000. So we increased that dramatically last year to make sure we could recruit the best positions for our police department. And we also increased the operational support for public safety departments, namely our police and fire. We contributed to our rainy day fund, which is the money we hold in reserve for when the economy goes bad. We extended some critical health and human services programs that we had started with federal assistance dollars, but they're really helping a lot of people. The county executive has prioritized them, so we're transitioning them over to county funding. And then we fully funded the Board of Education's compensation request for our educators, which obviously was a priority. And we did all of this while maintaining our AAA bond rating from all three bond rating agencies. So I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, that sounds good, Chris, but what do our taxes look like compared with our neighbors? Hey, I have a slide for you. This is the property tax comparison. We're the gold bar there, okay? So we're kind of in the middle, but we're a little bit on the right, which means that most counties pay higher property tax than us. We pay 98.3 cents per $100 of assessed value. If you have neighbors in Baltimore County, Howard County, Prince George's County, Montgomery County, Baltimore County, any of the big counties, they're paying more, okay? The counties that are paying less than us are traditionally more rural counties in Western Maryland or the Eastern Shore. How about on income tax? I got an even better story for you there. Most of us are paying in the middle rate, that's 2.94%. You can see everybody to the left is paying a higher rate. Most counties, especially the larger counties, are paying 3.2%. on their income tax, okay? The reason you see some dotted lines there is because a few years ago, the county executive implemented a progressive income tax structure, which means you pay a different rate on the different amount you earn. So up to the first $50,000, you pay a lower rate, 2.7%. And then from that point up to $400,000 of taxable income, you pay 2.94. And then for any income earned above that, you pay that maximum rate of 3.2%. Okay, recordation and transfer tax. This is the other major funding source. A few years back, we were doing gangbusters on real estate taxes, right? I mean, the housing market was going crazy. We saw it go way up. Guess what? We knew that wasn't sustainable. It was going to come back down, and it did. Good news is we budgeted for that, so we didn't run a deficit or anything. The bad news is if it was still up that high, we'd have $80 million more of recurring revenue this year. So that's a gap based on the depressed real estate market. Now, it will eventually recover much more slowly than it went up and down before, and so that's future income that we can look forward to. But right now, you can see that that gap there represents a pretty significant amount of funding that personally I'd love to have back. All right, the next slide is going to show you our revenue reserve fund visually. So the orange bars are the maximum limit that's allowed. That's 8% of our operating budget revenue, and our policy has been to fund that completely. So that blue line shows you what we've been funding, and you can see during the Pittman administration that has been fully funded. That's money that we can save for the next recession or economic downturn. We can only access it if certain conditions are met, so we can't just willy-nilly spend it on silly things. All right, now this next series of slides is really cool. The county executive mentioned this. We're going to show you some historical data based on funding. And so for all of these, what you'll see, that dotted line kind of 3/4 of the way, that is when the current administration started with County Executive Pittman. So this is public safety. So red is the fire department, blue is police. I came up with this color scheme myself. And sheriff is the gold color, okay? So you can see since the county exec came into office, we've dramatically increased public safety. That was a priority of him from the get-go, and we have been able to do that consistently with the support of the county council. But you can see that it's gone up a lot recently, and I'm just cautioning that that level of growth probably can't continue, but we will continue to prioritize on that. The next slide is going to show you similar with Rex and Park funding, okay? And there's an interesting story here. You can see it actually went down. Now, if you don't know this about me, I used to be on the county council, and I got elected in 2010, and that was right when the Great Recession was happening. That was no fun at all because we had to cut budgets. Rec and Parks got cut, you see, for 3 or 4 years. It didn't recover to that level until only 5 or 6 years ago, right? But then when County Executive Pittman was elected, a dramatic increase in funding. Now you see a little dip there for the COVID pandemic because a lot of their programs didn't happen because everything was shut down. But then you see a dramatic leap up, which incidentally coincides with when Director Jessica Lays came on board. But anyway, they've gotten a lot of funding recently to expand not only parks, but park operations and programs as well. Next slide I'm going to show you is the Board of Education funding. There is a mandatory level of funding that we have to do according to the state, but this administration has blown through that. We've been investing heavily in our Board of Education, focusing on educator compensation, but also behavioral health and special education and pre-K teaching positions as well. And finally, I think I want to show you Health and Human Services. So this is 3 departments together, the Department of Health, the Partnership for Children, Youth, and Families, and the Department of Social Services. But look at the dramatic increase that we've done. Now, a lot of that is because we expanded programs with that federal recovery funding, and then we've been transitioning that over to county funding. So that's why last year you see such a big jump there. But we've really increased those social safety programs that help some of the most vulnerable residents that the county executive mentioned. And then lastly, I just wanted to point out, a few years back, the administration and the county council created the Housing Trust Fund. So this is to help for affordable housing units. And you can see what that looks like visually, that we dramatically increased funding through our Arundel Community Development Services Department for affordable housing outcomes. So that's really great. Okay, so now I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to remind us all the cool stuff we funded in District 2. And as the county executive said, you guys have a heck of an advocate in your county council member, Ms. Pickard. She is very persistent in her advocacy for the district, and you can see that that results in a lot of cool projects on the transportation side, the education side, rec and parks, and we don't want to forget the new Glen Burnie Library is coming online soon. All right, so Trumbauer, what do you see in your crystal ball? What do we have to look forward to, right? Well, let's talk about that. So our FY26 fiscal expectations, what I'm prepared to share is, all things being equal, we see a pretty stable revenue outlook, okay? Income tax, probably considered continued modest growth. Property tax is going to be fine. Our assessments, and those of you who live in a district that got assessed this time, you're going to see your property assessments go way up, right? Now, I have some good news for you. If that's your primary residence, we have a 2% homestead credit in Anne Arundel County. So even if your assessment goes up 20%, 1 year it can only go up 2%, and then 2% more the next year. So that really insulates you. Now, from a budget standpoint, I love to have all that revenue, but from a homeowner standpoint, it does really protect you. So property tax is going to be fine. Recordation and transfer, it's still depressed, but we hope that the recovery will continue slowly. What I am worried about is our state funds. As the county exec mentioned, the state has a big structural deficit. They're talking about major cuts, and that could affect some of the assistance dollars that we get. There's also uncertainty with the incoming presidential administration. Those macroeconomic policies are going to change. We could get tariffs. We could have a decrease in the federal workforce or relocating federal departments based on some of the rhetoric he said. I don't know, maybe we're going to invade Greenland. I don't know what's going to happen, but we have to keep our eye on that uncertainty, because what the federal government does has a trickle-down effect on local government as well. All right, on the expenditure side, we have been heavily investing in our workforce lately. That has a tail, because when we wage raises, then we also have to pay for pension costs and more healthcare costs and things like that. So that will continue. And the good news is we're filling a lot of county vacancies, but that means we have less what we call turnover, so more of the budget gets spent. And we have our normal operational increases. Things cost more. We have a bigger capital program, so we have more debt service. And as I mentioned with the Rec and Park slide, we have expanded operations on a lot of different departments, so that has a higher cost as well. And then, of course, Board of Education funding continues to increase, not only from the state mandate, but because we want to fund a lot of what they're asking for. So the last thing I'm going to do is go through a fun little exercise. And if you've been to one of these in the past year or two, you probably remember this. And it's very small, but just trust me, the font. This is similar to what the county executive is going to see in a couple months. Okay, the budget office is going to tally up everything that we have to do, and we call those non-discretionary. So you see things up there like debt service, health insurance, OPEB is our retiree health care, the self-insurance fund, vehicle rate adjustments. We can't do anything about this. We've got to pay for these, right? And that's going to cost about $30 million, rough estimate. Now, the good news is, as I look in the crystal ball right now, I think we're going to have a good revenue here. We should have somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 million of new recurring revenue, and that sounds really great, right? Okay, well, we're going to subtract $30 million right off the top there. So now we're looking at $70 that we have left to appropriate to things. Okay, well, what else do we want to spend it on? Well, we've got our employees, right? We've got our pay packages. We negotiate with our bargaining units. We also have our non-rep employees. We want to pay them a fair wage. We don't know what those are going to be yet, but I can tell you last year we had a 3% cost of living adjustment, and all told that was about $18 million. So let's just say, for the sake of round numbers, let's say, okay, it's going to be something similar, $15 or $20 million this year. We're going to take that off the top again. So instead of 70, now we've got, you know, what, 55 or 50 left. Okay, well, that's still a lot of money. $50 million, a lot of money, right? Guess what? The Board of Education's request to the county was $94 million. $94 million, okay? And that doesn't include the other things that we're going to be asked for, including our friends at the library, our friends at the community college. Our own departments are expanding operations, and they will have some good ideas about initiatives and things that they want us to fund. So all of that has to be paid out of that pool of what's left from this recurring revenue. So even though those of us with a household budget think $50 million, wow, we could do anything with that, it goes really quickly. It's a long way of saying the county exec is going to be under a lot of pressure to make budgetary decisions, and then the county council will get them from there. Okay, so last thing I want to talk about is just some of the anticipated pressures on the budget. We are still seeing normal or higher than normal inflation. We're missing, quote unquote, some revenue from recordation and transfer tax because the real estate market's depressed. We're worried about that state budget shortfall because there's critical state aid that comes to county programs, and then the incremental increase in costs from things like debt service and health insurance and pension, and then finally the departmental base budget increases due to our expanded operations. So those are all the pressures on the budget that makes it so that we have to put this jigsaw puzzle together with only so many pieces. Now I know that I threw a lot out at you. If you want to know more about the budget, we've got resources for you. You don't have to take these down because all of this stuff, this presentation and these resources will be available on the aacounty.org/yourbudget website. But we've got Open Arundel, which has a whole bunch of budget data. We've got what we call the Budget Buddy, which allows you to zoom down and look into different departments. The Budget Office page, you can access the current year budget or budgets going back 10 or 15 years. And then, as I mentioned, the Your Budget page, where you can get this presentation and everything about the public process. So that's it for me. The last slide is the email that we want you to, if you don't get up and speak tonight and you just want to send us a note, send it here. If you have friends or family that couldn't come but they want to give their thoughts, give them this email address. Every email is read. We catalog everything, and this gets put together into a package that the county exec and the budget team are able to see and consider when they're making budget decisions. So thanks for listening. Have a great night. I'll get out of your way and we'll get started with public comment with Amber. So thank you.
Chris is just a little bit taller than me, and that's okay. Can we give another thank you to County Executive Stuart Pittman, Council Member Allison Pickard, and our resident budget officer, Chris Trumbauer, please? Thank you. So now it's time for the public testimony portion of the evening, where we get a chance to hear from you all. This is your chance to let county leaders know what you would like funded in the FY26 budget. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to give their testimony. I'll say that again. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to give their testimony. You will see a timer on the screen to help you keep track of time. For the sake of time, the county executive and council member won't respond to every comment, but they are listening and taking notes. I'll begin by calling the names of the people who signed up to speak when they checked in this evening, starting with the residents of District 2 and followed by everyone else who signed up to speak. I will call the names a few at a time. I'll call you up probably 5 at a time. And when I call your name, I'm going to ask you to line up in that order behind the microphone. We're going to move the microphone so that it'll be at the bottom of this row right here. After we've gotten through the list of people who have signed up to speak, we will open the floor for anyone else who would like to share their budget requests. If we don't have time to hear from you this evening, or you think of something else that you would like to share, we ask that you share your request to budget-comments@aacounty.org. I will now call on several of you and ask you to line up behind the microphone in order to speak. And I think we're going to get that moved to the front of the row here. When you come up to give your comments, I'm going to ask that you speak directly into the mic so that everyone can hear you clearly, and please state your name before you begin. I also want to apologize in advance for any names that I may mispronounce. When you come up, if I mispronounce your name, please correct me. Names are important, and I want to make sure that we get that right. So the first folks I have are Jessa Coulter, Nicole Dooley, Michael Hardy, Marla Sullivan, and Faith Steele.
Hello, my name is Jessa Coulter, and I'm the Executive Director of Annapolis Immigration Justice Network, and I'm a proud resident of District 2. I want to thank you for the commitment and support that the county executive and county government has shown to the immigrant community in Anne Arundel County, and I'm here today to let you know how important your continued support is. With your past funding of the legal and wraparound services for immigrant children, AIJN has collaborated with the Partnership for Children, Youth, and Families to ensure that the basic and legal needs of children in our county are met. Those who are supported by this program are some of the most vulnerable residents in our county. They include children and youth who have been abused, neglected, or abandoned, as well as victims of human trafficking. I urge the county to continue funding this program so we can provide this invaluable resource to these children and youth. This year, a young client supported by this program shared her experience with us. She said, "At first I felt nervous, but once I was in the courtroom, I felt confident and calm because of how the attorney guided us through the process." Data show that unaccompanied children with legal representation are 7 times more likely to receive an outcome that allowed them to remain in the U.S. than those who were unrepresented. Helping youth overcome the barriers to legal representation is critical now more than ever. AIJN's model is unique and highly effective. We have a 96% success rate of favorable outcomes in court hearings. The reason we are so successful is because every client we connect to legal representation has been assessed to be eligible to apply for legal relief. These children and youth have legal grounds to remain in the U.S. but simply cannot access an attorney. As of November 2024, there are 3,759 immigration cases pending in our county. Over half of these cases do not have legal representation. We see these statistics reflected in the work we're doing. Having an attorney makes all the difference. And while we don't know the specifics of how federal changes will impact immigrants in our community, we can be sure the need for legal representation will remain paramount. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole Dooley.
Yes. Hello. My name is Nicole Dooley. I am a District 2 resident and board member of Friends of Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control. Today, our county shelter does not euthanize animals unless their severe health or behavioral issues make them unadoptable. Pets can and do stay at the shelter for weeks or even months as they await new homes, but that was not always the case. Back when this current shelter was built 25 years ago, animals went there to die, and to die quickly, in 5 days or less. I've known that for a long time, but it wasn't until I saw this book that I truly appreciated what it meant. The state requires that shelters carefully track the controlled drugs used to euthanize animals, so every time an animal is euthanized, a shelter staffer handwrites the details in a red book like this one, including what kind of animal it was and how much it weighed. This is the oldest of those red books still available, and it's for the year 2003, 3 years after the shelter was built. In 2003, this book tells us the shelter euthanized 7,295 animals. That included 1,938 kittens. Kittens! 20 years later, in 2023, the shelter euthanized just 16 kittens, all of them too sick or injured to save. Whole-scale euthanasia was a common practice at public animal shelters 25 years ago. But here's what this red book really underscores. Our county's shelter wasn't built to humanely care for the neediest of the Anne Arundel County pets until they find new homes, as it does now. It was built to dispose of them, and quickly. No wonder the current shelter's design is so pitifully inadequate in all the ways we've detailed to you before. A new shelter will take years to build. We need to start now. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Michael Hardy.
Sorry.
Michael Hardy.
Hello, I am a District 2 resident. I'm familiar with Allison. Me and Allison's had.
Michael,
some
could you step a
discussion
little
in the
closer
past.
to the microphone
Sure.
for me? I just want to make sure we can hear you. Thank you.
I live in District 2. Can you hear me a little better now? And I'm not here on behalf of any group. I'm just here as a resident. I have 2 issues that have affected me personally. One is police. The other is infrastructure. So I heard DPW was here, so hopefully we can get some funding for DPW as well. I recently had my car broken into in front of my house on a Saturday morning. The person who broke into the car took the garage door open and opened the garage, and it alerted my wife and I. She called the police, and she tried to follow the person, as well as a jogger who happened to be jogging down the street. They tried to follow the person. It took police 20 minutes to get there for an active robbery, which could have been a home invasion. To me, that's just not acceptable. It took 20 minutes for police to actually get a police car out there. They ended up arresting the person who broke in, and they took him to jail. But for two women to have to follow somebody for an active break-in, which could have been home invasion as well, to me was just not acceptable and not somebody who was born and raised in this county. I was just shocked. My other issue is infrastructure. We're building all over Anne Arundel County. I live near Severn Danza, and it seems like the amount of building in residence outpaces roads, storm drainage, and any other infrastructure. So I think infrastructure, if you're allowing more and more homes to be built, infrastructure should be a priority, and that would relate back to the DPW. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, we've got Marla Sullivan.
Hi, I'm here to speak on behalf of Hope for All, the nonprofit.
Marla, can you step just a little bit closer?
Sure.
Yes, thank you.
Hope for All is dedicated to providing essential furniture, household items, and clothing to individuals in our community facing financial hardships, particularly those transitioning out of homelessness and coming out of crisis situations. We have had a dramatic increase in the number of referrals we have received over the past 2 years. It's been a 67% increase. Many of those referrals are coming from county departments such as Anne Arundel County Department of Health, the public schools, and crisis response, just to name a few. In the past 2 years, we have seen a 34% increase in the number of referrals coming out of the public school system. We've had a 43% increase in referrals coming out of crisis response, and we have had a 184% increase in the number of referrals coming from the Department of Health. The surge in referrals speaks volumes about the trust and confidence the agencies have placed in Hope for All. However, with the number of individuals needing assistance on the rise, this has outpaced the number of community donations coming in. We respectfully request the county to consider increasing funding for our nonprofit organization to enhance community services and to support those in need. Over the past 20 years, you've assisted us in serving over 20,000 people in this county. We're all working towards the same goal, to support those in need and to ensure everyone has access to the resources that they need. There's much more work to be done. We ask that you continue to support Hope for All and that you explore how we can build upon our success and create an even more robust system for support for our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Faith Steele.
Is this close enough?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm kind of short. Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am a resident of Glen Burnie, but I'm also here as a board member for the County Library Board. Just wanted to thank you both for your continued support over the last couple of years of the library supplemental budgets and ask for your continued support moving forward. One of the most successful programs the last year for the library was giving out Chromebooks, and that helped supported people of all ages, children, those looking for jobs, those that just needed to do recreational use, bridging the digital divide. As you know, it also helps people that need those jobs that the county has open to apply for. Things like giving out gun lock kits, Narcan kits, just providing educational programming and just overall touching the lives of many community members. So just again, want to ask you for your support to continue to help those programs, kindergarten readiness, health services. I went to an art show recently at the library, and there were so many residents there that were happy to be able to just come and participate and actually do the arts there at the library. So many programs that people aren't aware of, cooking, cookbooks, all kind of things. But again, thank you so much for your continued support, and hope that we can count on you again in this year.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call up our next group of folks. I have Carol Ann Gaither, Lisa Ingram, Marvin Hayes, and Tavana Harper.
Good afternoon. My name is Carol Ann Gaither. Hi, Mr. Pittman. How are you? I wanted to congratulate you first. We got our one speed camera. You know, okay, but I just want to ask you, can you support us also in getting our new road from the park to Queenstown Road? They stop at the church, Metropolitan Church, so they didn't go all the way to Quarterfield Road. And also, we've been working on trying to get our community zone residential. It is very, very important. These commercial vehicles are coming in. And the one thing I want to say, Mr. Pittman, we at Queenstown, we love our community, but these commercial trucks are coming in and they're finding an open vacant home and they're buying it, and that makes the community more not successful as a residential community, but they're just coming in for the money. We live there because this is where we've been I've been there over 70 years, and some there have been there over 90 years, but these trucks coming in, taking over, buying somebody's home. So we do definitely need to have the support of the county to get us geared residential. We've been working on it, so please put that in your notes, and you'll hear from me again. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa Ingram.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Ingram. I am a District 2 resident who has been a volunteer at Animal Care and Control for more than 13 years. We longtime volunteers have seen the shelter budget and staffing gradually improve while you both have been in office, and we thank you for that. But there is still so much more to be done, including building a new shelter. But tonight, I will focus on understaffing, which continues to be a huge issue. Many employees at the shelter currently are expected to perform what are multiple full-time jobs in other shelters of our size. We support the shelter's request for 4 new positions, and this doesn't include additional staff necessary if the shelter becomes its own department, which you have proposed and that we endorse. The new jobs include a certified vet tech to help the veterinarians spay or neuter more than 1,000 shelter animals a year. This would also allow the shelter to continue or to resume offering state-funded, no-cost spay-neuter surgery to the pets of the county's lower-income residents. Secondly, a proposed new adoption and special events coordinator would promote available animals, counsel adopters, and provide follow-up to maximize successful adoptions. Right now, overworked front desk staffers who don't interact with the animals attempt to counsel adopters while processing their paperwork, and there's no routine follow-up which is needed. The third job would be an office support specialist to reduce the paperwork burden on the poor animal control officers so they can spend more time on their core public safety responsibilities. The fourth job would be an additional animal care attendant so current staff does not have to work overtime to adequately care for and feed for the animals, especially on weekends. Each of these new positions will improve shelter services and reduce taxpayer expenses. We ask that you please fund them. Thank you.
Thank you. Marvin Hayes.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. My name is Marvin Hayes. I am representing the Queenstown community on behalf of the Severn Improvement Association. The 2-mile-long Queenstown Road was established in 1852 and was brought and built by free African Americans. It is home to a national landmark, a Rosenwald School, and is one of the oldest communities in Anne Arundel County. Queenstown Park is managed by the Severn Athletic Club, who has priority of the park and hosts many sports events. However, our community residents have very little use of this park. There is little to no upkeep of the park grounds other than for youth sporting events. There are no walkable trails. Many have been overgrown for years, which raises safety concerns with many of the residents. Residents cannot walk through the wooded portion of the park grounds that spans over 10 acres. One of the 2 baseball and softball fields is now a parking lot, which the Severn Improvement Association thought would aid in safety for annual Queenstown Day festivities as well as other events. This parking lot discourages park visitors from parking on the streets as they did years prior. It is our recommendation as members of the Severn Improvement Association that a building be erected so we would not have to use portable generators as we have done previously when hosting events. Seeing as so much has been done for the surrounding parks in the area, it is hard to believe that nothing can be done for the Queenstown Park. We were asked our input on the additional acreage of the Severn Danza Park, an example, trails and possible turf fields. We would like that same attention and opportunity for growth and expansion of the Queenstown Park. We are asking that the fiscal year 2026 budget accommodate our Queenstown Park upgrade request. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. And Savannah Harper.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I am a resident of Anne Arundel County, as well as I am a special educator here in Anne Arundel County as well at Marley Elementary. And I'm here to hopefully petition to you all to add more funding for our special education system that's here. Over the past years, I've worked here for 3 years in Anne Arundel County, and I love what I do as a special educator. But the reality is a lot of the struggles or the stripes that we have is because of the lack of funding / the lack of those who are supposed to be supporting us in our role. And that goes for TSAs, TAs, you know, our psychologists, as well as those who do a lot of the other OT and other, you know, special needs. So, you know, a lot of times we're asked to, and I know that, you know, in past times, you know, you might have put out there that you would like to fund at least 155 more positions for sped ed. And I'm hoping that you will reconsider that because, you know, we're always asked to give or to provide, I would say, the tools that our students need. But then we're left out of the loop and we're not given the tools that we need in order to provide those things for our students. So I am asking that when you're, you know, figuring out this budget and you're crunching those numbers, that you at least think of the special educators here and the educators, you know, all around Anne Arundel County. And I do have some of my colleagues here. We work endlessly and tirelessly, and we love to do what we do, but we need the tools just like you want us to give our students the tools to make sure that they're successful. I just want to make sure that we're all successful as well. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to call up Christopher Carnaggio, Mark Conklin, Tyler Arjubright, Lauren Pridgeon, and Linda Mazer. Kudos to you all for doing amazing on the 2 minutes. I'm so proud of you all. All right, Christopher.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Sir, my name is Chris Carnaggio. I am a board member of Anne Arundel County Fraternal Police Department. I am a graduate of Glen Burnie High School, grew up here, and prior to becoming a police officer, I served in the United States Navy and retired as a chief petty officer during tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Mr. Pittman, we are not telling you anything you don't know, haven't heard, or haven't said yourself. In Anne Arundel County, we have a dangerous deficit of police officers. Our county council has repeatedly done its part to attract and retain officers to our county. Our FOP leadership team has begged you for years to fix our pay package, which has historically been far behind other jurisdictions. Last year, you did what you should have done 6 years ago and gave us a high starting salary in the state. This sounds impressive, and we are grateful, but you wait until the very last minute to possibly do it. And all it has done is stop the bleeding of our staff. Today, we have the same number of line officers as we did a year ago. A year ago, you said we needed 350 more officers. We have improved our staffing precisely none. So what are the effects of this problem? When the Key Bridge fell in the bay, we had no Marine unit to send, and our sole helicopter was down for maintenance. When Hurricane Irene struck, our neighboring jurisdictions sent helping hands to assist with recovery. We had nobody to send. What will happen when tragedy strikes Anne Arundel County? How will it look when we ask our neighboring jurisdictions for help and we have not helped them? Internally, we have to reduce our staffing levels in our investigative teams, our crisis innovation teams, and our support functions, just to have enough officers to answer 911 calls. We have debuted a brilliant new information center that we cannot properly staff. Sir, our officers have been out there driving down crime day after day, night after night. They are putting their mental health and physical lives on the line for citizens of this county. But we need help. Bragging that we have competitive pay with other jurisdictions is a hollow boast at best. You're simply saying that we aren't as bad as everyone else. Every jurisdiction has undervalued its police officers. If you want professionals doing this job, sir, you have to pay professionals. Please support our police officers in this budget cycle. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got Mark Conklin.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Pittman, or sorry, Ms. Pickard and Mr. Pittman. My name is Mark Conklin, and I've been a member of the FFP and the police department for the last 29 years. During my career in the late 90s and into the 2000s, I've seen a massive shift in our ability to hire the police officers. Granted, this started a long time before you took office, but unfortunately you've been sort of left holding the bag. We appreciate what you've done for us, and it's been a help, but we warned you for years that it's going to take more than simply catching up to other agencies to help us catch up. The FFP regularly points out and has to fight with the county, specifically personnel, oftentimes when the people are making up rules or violating employment law. But you need these officers and that to have us work as a support mechanism. Do you think this helps us with retaining officers? How do we attract these officers? Over the career, I've watched our police department go from thousands of people applying for 30 positions to 30 people applying for 1,000 positions. And it sounds like an exaggeration, but it's actually the truth. We're one of the best training academies in the state, yet we're routinely filling ourselves up with other agencies because we can't fill our own seats. Our salaries are simply not in sync with what the officers have been asked to do and to risk, if I might be blunt. We're expected to be experts in criminal law, social work, computer science, biology. You and the citizens expect us to take a violent criminal under arrest without causing them harm, no matter what, under scrutiny of being recorded and having Monday morning quarterbacking. All this while now under the threat of ourselves being put in jail for a simple policy violation in some cases if the Attorney General thinks so. I hope that your administration can grasp the monumental task that your officers have been asked to do and the protections, financial and otherwise, that are needed to maintain our staffing or even to improve it. If not, we're never going to be able to attract the people we need. As the one gentleman mentioned, the reason your people aren't getting the response they need is because we just don't have anybody to send. I appreciate your support so far. I'd ask you to support us in the upcoming budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tyler Argybright, am I saying your last name correctly?
It's Argybright.
Argybright.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tyler Argybright, and I'm a proud FOP member. I've been with the Anne Arundel County Police for 4 months. I recently lateral from the Queen Anne's County Office of the Sheriff, where I was excited to become an Anne Arundel County police officer, living in this district and being an Anne Arundel County resident of 31 years. Our agency has a great reputation for professionalism throughout the state of Maryland. But more than many agencies, our officers are clearly being asked to do more than others throughout Maryland. I'm surprised to see how exhausted many officers are here compared to where I came from. Years of understaffing will do that, I've learned. But each officer comes to work every day and gives it their all. In fact, they give it their all plus 50%, because most of the time, 50% of us are asked to stay over to help with manpower due to shortages. I came here because I wanted to work with the best. If we don't properly fund police salaries, too many of us will continue to retire and go elsewhere. As a younger officer, I rely on those experienced officers to pass along their knowledge and experience. Our last contract definitely improved our ability to hire experienced officers, but it determined of experienced officers, and they are leaving. This is causing a brain drain in our agency that will be difficult to recover from. We are not in the position where we can just pull a lever. To fix our staffing problems, we have to address the issues that help us retain experienced officers, get new entry-level officers, and get other laterals from across the state, as myself, to come and work for a great county. The FOP has been worrying about upcoming staffing shortages, and it has arrived. We are now past the point of half measures. We have to pay our officers for the job we need to do to protect our communities. I appreciate your time and the support of the county police and the FOP.
Thank you. Lauren Pridgeon.
Excuse me. Hi, my name is Lauren Pridgeon. I'm a board member of the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police, and I work on patrol with the police department. I'm a prior resident of District 2 and still live just outside District 2 in the county. Many of my friends and family still live in this district. For those of you who don't know, each year the FOP's negotiation team sits down with the county administration, and each year is like Groundhog's Day. Our team has to explain all over again that the administration has not done enough for our staffing and that our staffing continues to be dangerously short, like they're unaware of the problem. These are the staffing shortages that contribute to our extremely dangerous and increased response times, as the gentleman in the back mentioned earlier. Our citizens deserve better, and they deserve a fully staffed police department. Last year, the county inexplicably stopped the hiring process for entry-level officers. We had to beg and plead for a change to make sure that when we have dozens of vacancies, that not a day goes by when we are not accepting applications. And within this past year, the county, again, without explanation, stopped the hiring process for our lateral police officers. Again, not a day should go by when we're not accepting applications. What is even more upsetting about this is that the county council just passed and you signed legislation to help attract those lateral officers, which we're very excited about. The application process is a computerized process, so it's not like someone would need to physically be there to accept any paperwork. There is simply no excuse for a single day going by when we are not accepting applications. You have said that we have not done enough to hire police officers. You have said that we have failed at addressing our deficit of police officers. It should be considered concerning to anyone here if there is anyone in your administration that is not putting forth their full efforts to hire more police officers. The County Council clearly understands this problem. Councilmember Pickard, thank you for introducing the bill to give our lateral hired police officers pension credit. We have heard over and over that the legislation will clear one of the biggest hurdles to hiring experienced police officers from other agencies. We are asking you, County Executive Pittman, to please cooperate and collaborate with us so that we can attract the best officers and retain them, the ones that we already have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Linda Mazer.
My name is Linda Mazer. I'm the Vice Chair of the Anne Arundel County Animal Welfare Council, a group of county residents, including 2 practicing veterinarians who are appointed by the county executive to give input on animal welfare issues. First, thank you, County Executive Pittman, for your decision to pursue the restructuring of animal care and control by making it a standalone county department. Our members voted unanimously to support this option. Although this was not the option that you personally preferred, you listened to input from stakeholder groups and followed their recommendations. We hope that the County Council members will also support this model. Secondly, we would like to report that the new administrator, Claudia Roll, has a wealth of knowledge and experience in animal sheltering. She has filled the vacant staff positions, and some of them were management positions, and a new veterinarian. Animal care and control is moving forward. For the budget items, we continue to advocate for shelter-specific software, which the new administrator has confirmed is needed, along with the 4 staff positions, a certified veterinarian technician to support the newly hired veterinarian in performing nearly 1,500 in-house spay-neuter surgeries, and restart the no-cost surgeries for the low-income residents, an adoption coordinator. Adoptions have fallen nationally and locally. Faster placements for these animals must be found to relieve overcrowding. An adoption coordinator is desperately needed to assist with the nearly 1,900 annual adoptions. An animal care attendant. There are not enough staff to cover the shelter 7 days a week. Simply put, the animals deserve to eat twice a day, even if it's on the weekend. Office support specialists. While there are 8 ACOs in the field servicing nearly 600,000 residents, only 1 ACO is dedicated to the Public Safety Office, which processed over 1,300 bite reports last year. Victims from these cases deal directly with this staff. This position will help improve efficiency and safety. Please give Animal Care and Control and the new administrator the resources they need to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to call up Catherine Hall-Gway, Janet Fox, Chris Weinstein, Deanna Edmonds, and Melissa Sisk.
Hi there. Good evening. I'm Kathy Hall-Gway. I was a former resident, and I'm tickled to see the school named after a favorite place my brother and I used to go fishing and catch crayfish. So it's named after Severn Run. So I'm really happy to be here. I want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I know you've heard me before. As you know, I was a former student, parent of students, temporary support assistant, teacher assistant. Before all this, was a parent volunteer. I was recruited by our wonderful staff here at Anne Arundel County, and am happy to say now I've even been a teacher now for at least 15, 16 years. Special educator, and I work with some of our neediest students in an alternate curriculum. So I work with some of our very exceptional students. And I was very hopeful, and I still remain hopeful and grateful for all that you have done working with our new superintendent, and I know that you all are trying to do the best you can to continue going up. I am personally not thrilled with the new administration that we have either, especially with the comments made about children, exceptional children. So I'm really hoping that that doesn't change anything for our world as we know it. But anyway, I do want to say thank you. I am asking you to please do what you can to support the superintendent's budget. As a special educator and one who considered retiring last year, I stayed on with the promise that we would have enough staff to do what we need to do to meet the needs of all of our students, only to show up the day before school started and find out that that extra staff that we had planned for and set aside our placements for was cut. So I am hoping that you can do whatever you can to fully staff all of our educators, and also we would appreciate to continue having the cost of living increase. Again, having been here with the county for a long time, I was through the years where we had no raise. So remaining loyal to our county, I can speak for myself, between retirement and in-pocket money that I've probably lost over $600,000 just remaining loyal to Anne Arundel County. So I'm asking you to please take care of some of us as we start moving towards retirement. But most of all, please take care of our babies. They're the ones that are going to be taking care of us. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Janet Fox.
Hi, good evening. My name is Janet Fox. I've been an occupational therapist for 34 years, with the last 24 with Anne Arundel County Schools. I work with children from the ages of 3 to 21 that have a variety of disabilities and needs. One main role I have is to support children in accessing their curriculum within their educational setting. My role also includes guiding children on their path for life after school. Over the years, I've experienced changes within the special education program. I missed the days that I truly got to know my students. Before, I would know what their favorite color was, I would know what their favorite stickers were, and I would know what would motivate them to try something new or difficult. You know, when you really know someone, you can just look at them and know what kind of day they're having. I miss having that with each of my students. I would be aware of the student's home situation and even some of their needs outside of the school. Parents also knew who I was. Through discussion and communication, together we established a path for their child to grow and succeed. Parents trusted me because they knew that I really understood their child and the needs of the entire family. I miss establishing that trust and bond with my families. Each child is unique and deserves the support and services to meet their fullest potential. These children and young adults are members of our communities, and tonight I advocate on their behalf and on behalf of their families. Tonight I'm asking you to fully fund Dr. Bedell's budget. By doing so, you will show students, parents, and our communities that each and every child matters and is important. It will show that you prioritize our children and will do what is necessary for them to succeed in whatever life holds for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Weinstein. Okay, thank you. And I've got Deanna Edmonds.
Good evening. Thank you so much for hosting us so that we could tell you what it's all about. My name is Deanna Edmonds. I teach second grade at Glendale Elementary School. I started off as a substitute teacher in Anne Arundel County and then got my master's of teaching so that I could teach full-time in the classroom. I've been a teacher for 6 years. I've been at Glendale for 6 years. I hope to stay here forever. But I do want to say that I have experienced the Anne Arundel County under the leadership of both of you. So I have seen consistent support from the county for our educators. I've heard, all the scariest stories of beforehand, what it was like with the step freezes and just not feeling respected. So I'm grateful that I get to feel that while working here. If you talk to almost any teacher, though, about what we need to do to make school work better for students, it's smaller class sizes, smaller caseloads. And we know that we get that by having more staff. I see the difference. So I only have 22 students in my class, which is relatively small. But if I have 4 of them absent in a day, that rarely happens, but it totally changes the dynamic. I'm able to give even more direct feedback. I'm able to be more responsive, give them more of what they need. So just the difference of smaller class sizes, smaller caseloads is really gonna be the fix to make it what we need. So please fully fund Dr. Bedell's budget. It is what our children deserve, and it's the investment that I think we need to see in our future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Melissa Sisk.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time out to hear my concerns as a special educator. I've been teaching for 34 years, and I've seen a lot of different programs come and go. I am a special educator, and I ask that you fully fund Dr. Bedell's budget. So, as an analogy, when you have an issue with your car and you drop it off, you expect it to go in, get serviced, and come out. That's the way I feel our special ed students should be. They should receive the services they need, whether it's reading, comprehension, phonics, math, behavior, whatever services they need, they should be given those services and then allowed to go back to their regular ed peers and placements, because we have resolved that and they become better citizens of Anne Arundel County. I have a caseload of 21. You just heard a classroom teacher had 22 in her class. I'm expected to serve 8 classrooms and 3 grades. More special education teachers are needed. This is not the best scenario that we're working with for our dollars, for helping our children to get the best services that they need. We need more special education people. As a co-teacher, that would be the best model. 1 teacher assisting with 1 grade. We hire new special educators. They come in with 1 paradigm, and in 3 or 4 weeks, they realize that they are on a different paradigm. They don't have small caseloads. They don't have clerical staff. They don't have a compliance staff officer, and they're not working with the students. They don't have the time that they need. Please fund our request that Dr. Bedell has asked. Our children are worth it. Our veteran teachers need it, because when it's not fulfilled by the lack of teachers and the new teachers, then it's counted on the veteran teachers to do the workload. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to let you all know that our Arundel TV is down, but the streaming is working on YouTube and Facebook if you have folks who are looking to join us virtually. So you can let them know that they are able to do so through those two avenues. All right, our next folks I'm going to call up to the microphone are Brian Holtzlander, Tom Marston, Stephanie Luschner, Paul Higgins, and Ashley Adabanola.
All right, hello everyone. Brian Holtzlander, Vice President, Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters. Thank you for having us. Good to be here. District 2 is where I started my career more than 20 years ago, and will always hold an important place in my heart, as well as the people. So I'm here today to talk to you about our efforts to keep you safe, where we continue to fall short, and how we can make progress. For the last number of years, we've been chipping away, and we're making some progress. We've hired some people, we've improved some of our safety margins, but we do have a long ways to go. We're still continuing out of ambulances. We don't have dedicated staff for our marine and boat operations, and we still have too few firefighters on the fire engines. But as firefighters, we don't come without solutions, and we're here to do our part too. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about something called Safer Grants. It's federal money, it's your federal tax dollars, as well as others throughout the country, that is available to pay for new firefighter positions to accommodate the growth that many communities like ours are going through. We're going to set records for calls this year, again, just like we do every year. The thing about the Safer Grants is you have to ask for it, and we haven't asked for it since 2019. So that's millions of dollars, your tax money that's going other places. For example, Frederick County, over $25 million in the last couple years. Baltimore County, $3 million, and countless other disbursements everywhere but here. So we're to ask you to tell your representatives, you want your money coming back to Anne Arundel County to keep you safe, because if you don't, it's going out the door anyways, and it's not coming here. So we appreciate your support. We look forward to continuing to make progress, and we hope you stay safe and warm out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Marston.
Good evening, Mr. Pittman and Ms. Pickard. Thank you for the opportunity to present. The county's work to improve land at Kinder Farm Park and Lake Waterford demonstrate your commitment to our environment. One site shows your willingness to manage invasive vines, vegetation, specifically a bamboo forest. The other, manage water flowing to the bay via the McAfee. I also see your strong partnership with religious groups and HOAs through support from CBT and WSA. I don't see similar commitment to support the private property owners. Many of our most loyal to this cause are funding their own improvements, even though an incentive has existed since 2015. When we look at south and west from our county, PG and Montgomery County have active programs that support both plant and hardware installations. These combine to effectively manage stormwater. I have firsthand knowledge as a watershed steward that PG's program in Hyattsville is community-based and very active due to the involvement of Chesapeake Bay Trust. Is our private land tax rebate properly funded and fully subscribed to the budget year? Is our communities developing installations that are developing growth rings involving the neighborhood? If we're not checking in with our fellow counties, why not? After all, Anne Arundel County and WSA are the talk of the Chesapeake Bay watershed. We should have a healthy private land ownership participation. Please make your commitment to the private land as you've made to the public and common lands. Thank you for considering my thoughts.
Thank you. Stephanie Luschner.
It's pretty close. It's Leuschner.
Thank you.
No problem.
Leuschner. I got it.
It's a doozy. It was a lateral move. My name is Stephanie Bernholz Leuschner. There's a lateral move. One bad name to another. I am a special educator in Anne Arundel County Public Schools for the last 6 years in both a self-contained early childhood setting and as an elementary school resource special educator. I'm speaking to you today to implore you to approve Dr. Bedell's additional special education positions in his budget proposal. These positions have been requested previously by AACPS and denied by the County Council on the basis of our unfilled vacancies. While this makes some outward sense, I believe it is dangerously short-sighted. How can we hope to recruit special educators when they can plainly see how little support we are given in the budget? These budget line items translate to more support in the classroom for our students, and frankly, they barely scratch the surface of our need. AACPS claims to utilize a co-teaching model, but as the resource special educator last year at Solly Elementary, which is a fantastic school, I was working in 3 different grades with 7 different quote-unquote co-teachers. While I was very lucky to have an incredibly supportive and creative admin team, nothing could solve the simple fact that I could not be in 7 places at once, plan with 3 different grade levels who all had different planning times, and provide instruction in 3 different curriculums at once, all while responding to daily crises caused by the inadequate support for my students despite the staff's, frankly, heroic efforts. Now, as an early childhood special educator working with 3 to 5-year-olds in a specialized class, I worry for my students that will transition to kindergarten because I know firsthand the gulf between our supports that we have available in ECSE and what is available in the placement options that we currently have available to us. We desperately, desperately need more. For once, AACPS seems to be hearing us. Will you?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Paul Higgins.
Good evening, Paul Higgins. I'm president of Woodholm Circle Community Association. I appreciate the opportunity to address you, Mr. Pittman, and Allison again. We see one another regularly. I learned recently of that Woodholm actually is split in half. We're not only in District 3, but we're in District 2. And I learned about that in a public meeting notice that came down from DPW that listed this project as being a District 2 project. I didn't see it on your chart up there, and the project I'm talking about is the Jumpers Hole Road Improvement Project. The section of that Jumpers Hole Road, there's only so much you can do with it. And I'm asking that we look real hard. That 65% design, in the studies, we weren't taking neighbors' yards, we're taking neighbors' yards now. These were comments I made back during the study. The study indicated that there would be connections for Woodholm to the Ashbury Creekstone. In the county's infinite wisdom, they allowed a builder to build on a lot, block that connection, and the connection to Ashbury, it's a private road, and the county decided they did not want to pick up, the agreement would be to pick up the maintenance to allow the connection. So everything we've been promised seems to be eroding away, and we could see that. I've been involved with that section of the road for 25 years. Okay, I was there when Ashbury was built. I was there when Creekstone was built. And putting a traffic light at Creekstone is not going to help the situation. It's only going to exacerbate it for the folks in Woodholm. And I'm asking wherever the undertow is, because I get the feeling that they're moving forward with the light, independent of anything else. I really would like to sit down with somebody and talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you. And then I have a name correction here. My apologies, Joe Adebanola.
No problem.
Good evening, County Exec Pittman and Councilwoman Pickett. My name is Joe Divinola. I'm president of Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters, representing close to 1,000 brave men and women that put their life on the line every day, working out of 30 fire stations in the county. Our firefighters and paramedics work a 24-hour shift from 7 in the morning to 7 in the morning the next day. And in that 24 hours at the station, we respond to every kind of emergency you can think of, celebrating new life, delivering babies, or holding the hand of a family member that has just lost a loved one. At the station, we share meals, celebrate holidays, celebrate birthdays together. Essentially, we are family. If one of my brothers and sisters go into a burning building to knock a fire down or to make a rescue, you can be sure one of us is going in with them. It's a physical job, with our gear weighing upwards of 75 pounds, and most of the time we're doing the work of 2 firefighters because our department cannot meet national minimum staffing levels, which all of our surrounding jurisdictions meet already. Our local's been advocating for new positions to meet minimum staffing levels to all of our county politicians over the last 20 years. I'll admit, we went from 1 or 2 firefighters on an engine to 3, but we are still 500 positions short and have been 500 positions short for the last several years. There's an avenue to help fund new positions, but our county administration won't apply for the federal funding to staff our apparatus. It's called the SAFER grant, like Brother Brian said. The county applied several years ago and we received funding, but never applied for it again. Our department is so understaffed, we will get this funding from the federal government every year if we just applied for free money. I want all of you to ask yourselves if you deserve to be protected like every surrounding jurisdiction around Anne Arundel County. If you think you should, ask your county council members and the county exec why you're not protected with minimum staffing requirements. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to call up our last group of folks for public comment this evening: Ashley Rogers, Will Johnson, Leah Paley, Elizabeth Ruddy, and Shannon Jabala. You can go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Rogers, and I'm the branch manager of the Glen Burnie Library, the only library in District 2. I'm testifying this evening in support of the library's budget requests and to provide an update on the new Glen Burnie Library project. Last year, nearly 180,000 people visited the Glen Burnie Library. It's our busiest location in the county. We support the community in so many ways. Library staff connected a customer to food resources by helping him call and arrange for boxes of food to be delivered to him. Our parking lot food pantry is in high use every single day. We gave out 544 gun locks last year at our branch to prevent gun violence in our community. We have been hosting teen lock-ins on some Friday nights, and we have upwards of 50 teens finding a safe place to hang out with their friends. 20 people attended our chair yoga program last Friday, which provided exercise, stress relief, and social interaction to combat loneliness and preventative health support to participants. And just last week, we received 15 requests at the branch for assistance with our grant research database for nonprofit funding. Our work and our reach continues to expand. To support this growth, additional positions are needed in critical areas such as human resources and facilities. We ask for your consideration of these requests and a thank you for all you have done and continue to do to make our work possible. We also appreciate all your support of the upcoming new Glen Burnie Library. This new building will be 40,000 square feet. It will include 8,000 square feet for the county's Cultural Resource Lab and Local History Resource Center. The new building will provide double the space of the current facility and will be focused on the needs of the changing community. The first community input meeting is scheduled for February 11th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Arundel Presbyterian Church, next door to the library. We encourage everyone's participation. Additionally, any resident can also provide input on the new library through our community survey, which will be available next week on our website or in the branch. So thank you both for your steadfast support of the library, including market rate adjustments for the last 2 years. I look forward to welcoming all of you to the new Glen Burnie Library. Thank you.
Thank you. Will Johnson.
Hi, good evening.
My name is Will Johnson. I'm an early career educator teaching 3rd grade at Seven Oaks Elementary in Odenton. I'm also on the board of TAC. Tonight, I want to speak to you about the proposed 3% cost of living adjustment and why the County Council needs to approve the budget, not just for teachers, but for all staff in schools. While Dr. Bedell has shared a compelling vision for moving Anne Arundel County's public schools from good to great, greatness cannot be achieved if the people driving this vision, our educators and support staff, are left struggling to make ends meet. I know this because I've lived it. I started my career as a teaching assistant, working my way up to where I am today. I've been in a position where one unexpected financial crisis can derail everything. Just last year, my car broke down and I had to replace it, and the financial strain nearly tipped me over the edge. This is the reality for so many of our educators right now. At the Board of Education, we've heard a lot about star ratings, increased testing, and narrowing achievement gaps. These accomplishments are possible because of the hard work of the people in our schools. But how can we expect them to continue delivering when they are one emergency away from financial disaster? While a 3% COLA is great, it doesn't reflect the rising cost of living nor the value of the people who are making this progress possible. As Dr. Bedell said, our children are depending on us to obtain the necessary resources and use them to realize our vision. I couldn't agree more. But one of the most critical resources is ensuring we pay our staff a truly competitive and a livable wage. A COLA increase above 3% isn't just an investment in our salaries. It's an investment in the very foundation of this district's success. If we want to be on everyone's radar as a great school district, we must start by showing our educators that we value them enough to pay them what they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Leah Paley.
I was going to be throwing a lot of stats out, so I figured I'd just pass along a copy. Thanks for having me here this evening. My name is Leah Paley. I'm the CEO of the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. I want to thank the county first for your strong support. Last year, that was $1.5 million to support our daily operations and make sure our neighbors experiencing food insecurity had food to eat. On behalf of the food bank, I'm here tonight to respectfully ask that you once again include $1.5 million in the FY26 budget for our organization. Currently, our county's food insecure population is just over 61,000. That's 10.5% of our county's residents, and that's up 2.4% from last year. Additionally, 57% of food insecure neighbors are above the SNAP threshold and therefore ineligible for SNAP benefits. Given these statistics, it's no surprise that the need for supplemental food in our county remains alarmingly high. Last year, right here in District 2, we distributed food through our network partners at 23 locations, collectively providing over 192,000 instances of assistance to our neighbors. Currently, we're averaging over 51,000 instances of assistance across our 76 network partners, and that's up 6% over this time last year and 19% more than the year before. Even more alarming, that's 85% higher than it was in the year prior to the pandemic. We distributed 4 million pounds of food last year. That included over 1 million pounds of produce and lean proteins. We're spending almost double what we were in the year prior to the pandemic, and yet the amount of funding we have is not keeping pace to support our neighbors, meaning we're giving out less food. And while we're going to have to increase our budget, we're not asking the county for more. We're going to increase our budget by 5%. We're going to be able to meet that cost on our own, but we need the county to continue their support, so please consider funding us at $1.5 million. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Ruddy.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Ruddy, and I'm a resident of Anne Arundel County. I have two kids in the school system, and I'm also a teacher. I want to first start off by saying thank you for the efforts of the County Council and the County Executive over the past few years. You have consistently funded the budgets that have fueled many improvements at AACPS, including compensation for our teachers. This is my 23rd year teaching, my 17th year with AACPS, and I love living here. I believe Anne Arundel County truly is the best place for all. I've been thinking back to when I first came here. I was a newlywed, starting my 6th year teaching. I looked to the veterans as models for instruction and considered them a wealth of experience. I'm now one of those veterans and now find myself closer to the end of my career rather than the beginning. I hate to dwell on the past, but a few good years of a consistent COLA has not fully made up for the years of stagnant salaries that were faced by our veteran teachers. It is my hope that the Board of Education will include a COLA for teachers that is greater than 3%, which is barely enough to keep a bit ahead of inflation. Great efforts have been made to attract new educators, but more has to be done to ensure veterans stay. I know I, for one, could be making $13,000 to $20,000 more in surrounding counties, which sounds pretty attractive since I have a son that's going to start driving this summer and in 2 years will go to college. So my life, as well as inflation, has progressed, and I need my salary to progress as well. Please do whatever you can to ensure the education budget is fully funded and raise revenue if it is needed to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. And Shannon Gabala. Did I get that correct?
It's Jabala.
Jabala. I had it right the first time.
I've been called worse. Good evening. My name is Shannon Jabala, and I am a special educator for Anne Arundel County. I've been with the county for 19 years. First, I want to thank you for your continued support for the Board of Education. As a special educator, I am here not only as a professional, but also as a voice for our most vulnerable students, those with disabilities, who depend on our services to access the education they deserve. I am asking for your support to address a growing crisis in special education, the shortage of special educators, and the overwhelming demands placed on those of us still in the field. Research consistently shows that the number of special educators relative to the number of students directly impacts academic outcomes. According to the National Council on Teacher Quality, a lower special educator-student ratio correlates with higher academic achievement and increased graduation rates for students with disabilities. Unfortunately, our current ratios are too high. At my school, 3 special educators are responsible for caseloads of 13 to 21 students each with significant and complex needs. We are also responsible to do the duties of an IEP clerk, IEP facilitator, and team lead. These numbers and needs are consistently increasing, yet the number of special education teachers has not increased to meet the growing demands. Our students are not receiving the support they need, not due to the lack of effort, but because the system is chronically understaffed and underfunded. This is a disservice to our most vulnerable students and undermines their chances to succeed academically. The consequences of inactions are steep. These children are tomorrow's leaders, workers, and contributors to society. If we don't invest in them today, we will bear the cost of failing them tomorrow. But we can fix this. We need to increase the number of special educators in our school system. I please ask that you fully fund the special education positions. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got about 10 minutes, so I'm going to open the floor to anyone who's not yet spoken. We have time for maybe about 3 to 4 folks. If there are other folks in the room who are interested in speaking and presenting their budget requests, you can line up at the microphone now.
Hi, my name is Malcolm Colombo. I'm a resident of District 2. I have about 5 different things that I'm going to rattle off really quickly. First, I'm a structural engineer. One thing I would like the county to consider is implementing a third-party process system for permits and such. Neighboring counties like Prince George's County implemented that. It helps permits go a lot quicker. And along with those kind of permit reviews, I would like to see more smaller businesses like coffee shops, bookstores, those kind of things implemented into our communities. I don't think we need a 50th rural farms. I think we all like rural farms, but I think, top of that, we're in this building that is very brand new. It is state of the art, but I think there needs to be a better thought process in planning this new school is pinpointed between two highway systems. We know that highways and carbon emissions impact childhood development. So we are on the corner. So unfortunately, our students in this community, while they're at this school, they are impacted. And part of that as well is I would like to see better access to these type of community buildings like our schools and our public libraries for other things than automobiles. Right now, most of the students that are dropped off at the school are done by their parents, adds traffic to our roads, impacts a lot of us. So I'd like to see a better implementation of those things and a better consideration of how we plan across the county as a whole. That's pretty much all I got for you today. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got time for one more if there's anyone else. Thank you. Thank you. I see we've got one more in the back. If you could come down to the mic, and that'll be our last one for the evening.
My name is Rick Kimball. I live in Annapolis. I've been here for just about 3 years, moved down from Boston. I work for a company called Intelliglass. Intelliglass is...
Could you step over to the mic for me? Just step over to the mic's right there. Yeah, there you go. Want to make sure we can hear you.
Not in it. My name is Rick Kimball. I'm with a company called Intelliglass, based from California, working primarily the East Coast, but actually running business development across the country. My business here is 180 degrees from everything I heard, and I support everything I heard today as a resident. But we are looking for ways to put money into the county through our technologies of reducing things like facility costs in buildings. We are at the same time pushing green, sustainability, ESG, and everything that's being forced upon us, wisely, I think. And it's really just a matter of us getting into some of these properties where we can help corporates that are based here, governments that are based here, and really get to them and show them. As simple as an address, I can take a building that the county is ownership of or leasing or anything else and break down exactly what we can do in that building to cut the cost of being in it by upwards of 30 to 40% a year, and that's millions.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you who stepped up and shared public comment, shared your stories, gave your feedback. This was really great dialogue this evening, and I thank you all for allowing me the privilege of being your moderator for the evening. If you have any additional budget comments to share, again, you can email them to budget-comments@aacounty.org. And now I'll turn it back over to our elected officials for closing remarks, and we'll begin with Councilmember Pickard.
Well, thank you, everyone. This was, I'm glad our attendance went up from our original 17 signed up earlier in the week. So I love to hear from all of you. Once again, I think I say this every year, I wasn't really surprised by anything I heard tonight, which tells me that you're doing a great job advocating and that we're communicating effectively here in District 2. We have some uncertainty ahead with the budget. This guy over here kicks us off in May, so between now and May 1st, keep advocating for your priorities, and hopefully we can come to a great budget by June 15th. Right, Mr. County Executive? It's an honor to represent this community, and I again thank you for coming out and spending your Thursday night here to speak on things that you're passionate about. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Pittman.
So, some people question, maybe people on my staff, whether we should continue to do these because there's a question about whether there's anything new that comes up, because we know that there are needs that are greater than are being funded, and it's really uncomfortable to sit up here and hear that over and over again. It's an uncomfortable seat, but I kind of feel like it keeps me in that uncomfortable place that I ought to be going into the budget, So thank you for doing it. Thank you for coming out here on a cold night and doing it. I like the variety of issues. I mean, animal care and control. The Friends of Animal Care and Control are well organized in their purple shirts. I don't think you've missed a budget town hall since I've been county executive. And I'll tell you that each year we've done these little things, but finally this year we're going to have an independent department that is not under the police department, comes into the budget, makes their budget requests. I know based on what you've said that it's going to align with what you've said, and that adds even more pressure. And it was extraordinary to hear about the 1,700 animals euthanized. No, it was 7,000 something euthanized in 1 year back in 2003, and the fact that our shelter was built for that. As a euthanasia center, and now that's not what it's for. So we've had conversations with Claudia about that. I feel like I got 2 years left, and we've got to get this process moving in the direction that you've talked about. We showed some data. I wanted to show some data over the growth in past years, but let's all acknowledge that Anne Arundel County, while we still have the lowest tax rates of the region, of the large central Maryland counties, we were even lower. I did, and the council did make some tax rate increases, and we have been digging ourselves out of a deep hole. So when police and fire, for instance, show that we've increased a lot, that is coming from a place where we were in very bad shape. And our call volume increases, particularly with EMS. The call, I don't remember the data right now, but it's many-fold what it was, not only because our population has increased, but because, there are people who don't have doctors, and so they're calling the fire department every time there's a problem, and then they, take me to the emergency room for health care. And it's not the way it should be. So we're going to keep pushing, but you all need to keep advocating on all of the issues. And I do want to congratulate Queenstown in particular. That's one neighborhood that started to show up last year. at budget town halls. And then they've continued to organize this year. You've heard about, they got the speed cameras and some things. But they're also still talking about zoning. And for those of you who are engaging on the budget and are in a neighborhood, don't forget to engage also on land use. We have a lot of work going on rezoning, comprehensive rezoning, region plans and things. And that's another area where you can really be impactful. But it is good to hear every year from, even though some of the same folks and some of the same issues, they do evolve somewhat, that we can't just say we've done it, we've done well, and we're in a good place. We've got a lot of work left to do. So I can't say I'm looking forward to the process of making the decisions, but I count my life now in budgets. I've got 2 more budgets to do in this job before I'm out. I'm term limited, and so I want to make sure that they're good ones. So thank you for your help.
Thank you all again, and I hope that you all make it home safely. Take care.